Let me give a functional definition of success. Success is when you achieve something above and beyond what the average person achieves. That is success. And ideally, that goes with some happiness, right? So today we're going to talk about the necessity of faith in achieving success. Let us be very cognizant of the fact that success is not easy to come by. And if it were, everyone would have it, then it would be undervalued. It is something that requires focus, persistence, faith, hard work at times. And we're going to go into what are the factors beyond the obvious things like hard work and determination that will determine your success.
And we have Major Mind and Soul said, having faith both in myself and in the process has got me promoted twice this year,
Mm.
now earning more than ever. It also got
Woo.
me back into the boxing gym where I have performed well, sparring next week.
There you go. A man has seen great strides in the critical areas of life. He earned it. That's the key, is that things are not happening for no reason or just because.
Carry on.
Now, this topic of success, when we're talking about success, this means at some level you've reached a milestone. You've achieved a goal or an outcome. When we speak of goals or outcomes, think of it this way. Okay, you have your outcome, also known as your goal. We can maybe call this a destination. You're trying to get somewhere. So this is your destination. To arrive at a destination, you must route. You must take a route, take a path. Well, the challenge with success is that often you're traveling a path and you're not sure, is it the right path? Or maybe it's a drudgerous path. Is that a word? I think it is. And you're wondering, can I make it down this path? Might be the right path for sure, but can I make it down the path? So there's these two chief questions. Is this the right path? Does it even lead me to the destination that I seek? And then the second piece is, if you know it's the right path, well, it's a difficult path. Can I make it down this path? And that is precisely why faith is required. And we're going to dig deep into this. When you're asking yourself, A, is this the right path? And if you're certain that it's the right path, which is rare because most people don't know it's the right path, and I'll tell you why in a second, you're saying, can I make it down this path? Firstly, the question is, well, why would someone have a destination and not know how to get there? Marquette, is that possible? Oh, yeah, absolutely. You see, if your goal is to become a lawyer or to become a famous musician, you've never been a lawyer before. You've never been a famous musician before, which means that you don't have anything in your black box, which is to say your personal experience or your memory, that you can pull from to have the certainty and confidence to say, this is the right way. It will land me at the destination or goal that I want. That's what we mean when we say you're not certain that it's the right path. And then there's that other option when you're like, you know what? I want to be a lawyer. I know precisely what the path is. I get a bachelor's degree in political science, and then I take a law degree, 4-year course at fill in the blank law school, and then I start X, Y, and Z. That's the path. But secretly, you're like, but can I make it down that path? What would make one question such a thing? Well, you'd question a thing like that because of an internal force and an external force. And when I say an internal force and an external force, what we're talking about is, first comes the external force, which is to say, you look around and you say, well, gee, I come from a ghetto. Or you look around and say, you know what? My parents are immigrants and they don't even speak English. What makes me think that I can, being a first generation American, achieve something so high? Or you look around at all the current lawyers and you say, they're white and Jewish and I'm black. You look around at the outside world and something in that world tells you you're not going to fit where you're trying to climb to. Or more directly, the world talks to you. See, before I was talking about your assumptions that you make in looking around at the world, maybe the world talks to you. Maybe you applied to law schools and didn't get into any. Maybe one of your classmates, when you were in L1, your first year of your law degree, said, I don't think you're fit for this. They were discouraging. Or maybe your own parent said, is that a practical job? Is that a realistic thing? Can you afford law school? And they inject doubt into you.
we have Zachary said, peace to the saints. Thank you for being who you truly are.
I appreciate that, Zachary.
And on Cash App, we also have Vernell says tuition.
Peace to the saints. Shout out to the ones, real ones supporting. There are a number of things that may be external and internal, which make you question, have doubt, not believe, lose confidence. Most of them are based on your psychology. There's something called imposter syndrome, which means you think if you were to somehow land in that place, you couldn't even imagine yourself fitting in and being an authentic person there. You couldn't even visualize yourself as authentically actually being a lawyer or being a millionaire or being a famous musician. You'd feel somehow like you cheated your way in, or you scammed your way in, or you were there for a short stay. You wouldn't last and you wouldn't make it. It's not real. It can't be real for you. And all of that is based on the evidence, right? You've never been a lawyer before. You've never been a millionaire before. You've never been a famous musician before. The evidence is not there, suggesting that you can do it. You don't have those people in your family. You have nothing but mystery, and you're relying solely on hope and the belief that you are somehow special. Let's talk about that part.
Okay, we have Rostar said, turned 18 last month and got a sales job selling cutlery. I've been doing well so far, and I'm saving up to start a business. How do I join the Discord? Also, is there anyone in the Assassin trying to boss up on some cutlery?
I hear that. Don't tell me you with Cutco. You heard of Cutco?
No, but someone wrote, are you working for Cutco?
There you go. There you go. There's a reason we both said that. But anyways, you become a member at Marquettdavon.com or patreon.com/the Saint in the Center, at which point you'll go through our new member orientation and you'll be granted access to our private member only Discord. And congratulations on officially becoming legally a man and also getting new employment. I think you'll learn many things there.
And he's with that organization.
Figured as much.
Okay, we have none of the above came in with tuition on PayPal.
Okay.
He said, great suit, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Again, this was made where the destination
absolutely
is going to be.
Absolutely.
He said, I was wondering when you would drop some game on fashion basics, not just slapping on a pair of Jordans, but just great fundamentals that anyone of any budget can abide by. The youth definitely needs it.
The youth do need it. And it's worth noting that I've only ever owned one pair of Jordans, which is quite remarkable when you grow up as a hustler in a ghetto that's primarily Black and Latino. You only own one pair of Jordans your whole life. That's amazing. And the pair I own was a rare edition. They're called a Trunner. It was a crossbreed between a training and a running shoe. And really no one could get it. That's why I went and got it. But other than that, I don't like to wear Jordans because everyone's wearing them. Every like white chick that wants to be a black chick, you heard me, every ghetto hood rat chick. So, you know, I need a project chick. Yes, so I can't be messing with them. Anyways, yeah, I certainly can do a video on such. And for the guys who are going to be a part of this trip, I appreciate the compliment on this suit. I have many types of suits because I have so many. You want to get different kinds. And you'll be able to get a full suit as well as some shirts. And if you've seen those super player floral print shirts that I have, the crew neck ones, those are the kind of shirts that you can optionally get made if you are able to attend this trip.
I'll go grab one so they know what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah, so they know how player it is.
Javier said, peace to the saints on Cash App.
Peace to the saints. So you experience things in your psyche like imposter syndrome. And this is why it requires faith. Let's get deep into the psychology of success, because if we're being honest, every person who would strive to be successful, which means to achieve something above and beyond what the average person has done, that person at some level has some arrogance. Yeah, they got some arrogance about them. They think they are special. Because if you didn't believe you were special, how dare you try and do something that other people can't do or won't do, aren't qualified to do? How dare you go and try to get something that they can't get, that they don't deserve, that they're not good enough for, that they're not smart enough to figure out? How dare you do that, lest you believe you are especially worthy because you have a greater work ethic, because you're more intelligent, because you're more charming, because you're more crafty, because you're more creative. You must believe that something about you is special, or else you wouldn't even try. Now, the reason that you fail or fail to persist is because someone or something fools you into thinking that you're average or thinking that you're not good enough or not special. And that is precisely where faith comes in. That's one of the places, and we'll get deeper. These shirts are way too player to be on these kind of hangers, so don't let us never do that again. But you dig, I need a name for these. You dig? I need a name. They don't even look as player when they're not on the big homie. You just on the hanger. You can't even function with it. But this is when you go to the club or the function. This is what you need to be wearing. You guys be out at the club looking like accountants. You heard me, wearing button-up shirts, looking like a damn accountant. Make that AC a little colder. Ooh, the floral pimping. Yeah. This is cold right here. Now let's get into it. Some of you guys think that you failed because you weren't doing the right thing. It's not true. Sometimes you fail because you weren't doing the right thing long enough. Yes, you weren't doing the right thing long enough. Now, why is it that you would stop doing the right thing short of success? The reason you would do that is because maybe you ran out of money, or more likely you ran out of energy and you ran out of belief. Generally, belief in yourself or belief that it's possible. Now, faith is critical because you don't know. Where can you find faith is what you should be asking me. Well, gee, Marquette, I'm trying to be successful. I'm getting exhausted and tired. Where can I find faith? Well, there are a couple places you can obviously find faith. You can find faith from people who have already done it. Why can they help you with your faith? Because they actually don't need faith. What is faith? And I'm going to explain to you a couple things, so follow me. Faith is the concept of being able to believe with limited evidence, to believe in something that is not fully proven. That is faith. And you might be thinking that I'm necessarily talking about faith in a higher power. Not necessarily the case. I'm talking about faith, which is belief, generally belief in yourself. Yes, belief in yourself. And even if you would tell me, Marquette, I have belief in the higher power, that the higher power chose me for something special, that's still belief in yourself, because you believe that they chose you. You believe fundamentally that you are different, you are special. It's actually a critical belief to have, which is why if you listen to people who are successful, you'll often notice that consistently there's a common strain running among them. It's a level of arrogance or narcissism or self-absorption, whatever you want to call it. Listen to Michael Jordan, says he's the best basketball player. Listen to Floyd, says he's the best ever in the sport of boxing. Listen to Kanye, self-proclaimed genius. You notice there's something consistent in all of these people. Listen to Rick Ross. Oh, big boss, Rick Ross. They all have an extraordinary level of self-belief. Even Mike Tyson, when he was in his prime, you heard him saying things like, I'm the best ever. I'm the greatest. I'm the most ruthless champion there's ever been. My defense is impregnable. My style is impetuous. I'm just ferocious. I want to eat his kids. Notice when he fell off, he wasn't talking like that because he wasn't thinking like that. Your behavior and action roots from the quality of your thoughts. He didn't have a mindset like that. He lost faith in himself, lost belief in himself.
On Cash App, we have Kyle said, thank you for the knowledge, always top tier.
I appreciate that. You caught up? Okay, I think there's a super chat.
One just came through. We have Gravity Film said, I know your channel is focused on health, wealth, and relationships. I think it would be great if you had more content on health. Would you be willing to collab with Yaki Awakened or a natural healer?
Potentially. I mean, if they have a comparable level of subscribers and they're saying things that are aligned with proper science, yeah, it can make sense. Caught up?
Yep.
Thank you. Now, as I say, before you've achieved your goal, before you've achieved, you require faith, because you've never done it before, whatever it is. After you've already achieved something, you don't require faith, and faith is that belief that in something that is based on limited evidence. After you've achieved, you have evidence. After you've worked hard and acquired $1 million, the evidence that you can do it again is the money. You've made $1 million. You know, you could go through that process again. You know what's involved in it. And that is precisely why, if you lack faith, a person who's already done it can give you faith. They can look at your outcome, that is your goal, that is your destination, and then they can look at your approach, that is your strategy, that is your route, and they can say, that's a worthy destination. You're the guy who can get there, and your approach makes perfect sense. Everything is correct. Just keep working and have faith that it's going to work out, because I've seen it work out before, and you have all of the rudiments necessary to make it across the finish line. So you hear it from someone who's tried and true, and now you can move through your path with more confidence, less doubt, and less fear, knowing that eventually you will arrive. You can get faith from someone who's already done it.
Okay, we have hef.com said, I have a deep appreciation for this lecture as it directly addresses the psychological hurdles I am currently navigating. Peace to the saints.
Peace to the saints. Many are. I don't care who pretends to be confident. If someone's doing something they've never done, if someone's pursuing an audacious goal, they're doubtful, they're nervous, they're worried, they're unsure, they're fearful, they're scared of going broke, they're scared of being embarrassed. All of these human beings are going through the same experiences. When someone has already achieved something, when you're seeking to achieve an additional thing, all you're doing is walking back down a road that you know well. That's why you're not nervous and anxious. And this applies to many things, whether you're achieving in terms of dealing with a beautiful woman. You see, there's a nervousness. You catch your first bad chick. You're like, oh, I want to smash so bad. I hope it go through. But when you've done it before, you're like, yeah, I already know what the process is right here. You dig? Same thing with financial success. And I remember when I was early on in my career with women, shall we say, my OG, I was telling him about this chick I had cracked, meaning I got her contact info, and I was having trouble getting in touch with her. And he was like, yeah, nah. He was like, nah, this is going to work out. He was like, you well positioned. He was like, you the man at the school. She already knows that. She knows your reputation. You position. He was like, she going to front like she don't need it, but she needs you in her life. He was like, yeah, just keep it cool. He could tell me that from the position of a man who's already went through that many times. Many times. So no, if you don't have someone in your life to give you faith, please do have faith. And I'll tell you why you should have faith. But first, let me tell you one of the most important things that you really want to have in place before you have faith. You want to have the correct outcome. The approach and the route might not always be correct. Ideally, you want it to be efficient. You want point A to lead directly to point B. Your outcome might not always be the case, especially if you don't have guidance. But let me tell you this, there's nothing worse than being a fool in faith, which is to say you have your desired outcome and you have full faith that you could get there, but either A, you're pursuing the wrong outcome, or B, you're walking down the wrong path with full faith. That can be very detrimental. I've seen people, use strategies that were not going to work. I've seen people stay in businesses too long when they should have shut down the business and given up. They just kept losing money with excessive faith. Sometimes faith can be a hindrance if it's blind, foolish, uninformed faith. That's why information is critical. Good mentorship is critical. Nothing worse than having the wrong goal and pursuing that with great fervor. For those of you who might be sitting on your wallet, not doing anything, do not watch life from the bleachers. Go ahead and get in the field. Certainly, I want to caution everyone that, especially when you go into entrepreneurship, you'd be wise to have some savings. We call it runway, right? 6 months of runway, 6 months of savings that can cover your housing, your food, and your petty expenses before you hop in those murky waters of entrepreneurship. But anytime you do something, the best thing you can do is to do it in a serious way, convinced of your success, and ideally with good information and support. Now, understand, persistence is the major part of success. Persistence is the major part of success. Look at Ray Kroc. wasn't able to create the McDonald's empire until later in life. He persisted. He had faith that he was someone special and he would do something special. Even if you look in the political sphere, you see some guys, they achieve early in life, like say Barack Obama. He was actually quite quick to the presidency. His political ascension was atypical in American history and in fact in world history. Conversely, you look at Adolf Hitler, who ended up having way more power and impact than Barack Obama, but still, he actually got into political life quite late in life. And really in his, when he was my age, he was actually what you would rightly describe as a loser, but he was able to rise out of that, which is to say persistence, faith drives persistence. Persistence is the major part of success. It's rarely about how smart are you, how creative were you a genius? No, none of that. Here's why. Success, the machinery of success kind of works like this. And this is why people quit too early. You go to the gym, you work out really hard, you curl, you work your bicep. You go in the next day, you do this 5 days in a row, you curl, your biceps are sore, but you're not noticing any muscular gain. Your biceps haven't grown in size. Hell, your biceps haven't even gotten stronger. And you're wondering, well, I put all this work in, but I'm not seeing any results. You created YouTube videos, but no one viewed them. You put up a product on Amazon, no one bought it. You keep doing the right things, so you think, but you see no fruit from your labor. So eventually you say, well, this isn't working. I ought to throw in the towel. Well, it turns out you were just steps away from success. You threw in the towel in the 8th inning, but it turns out the ball game was 9 innings.
We have Darius said, get ready. It's the big homie, the one and only. How to have faith if you have to rely on people who you are unsure if you're with good people yet, or they're slightly incompetent and forgetful.
Well, context is important. Generally speaking, when you can remove yourself from being in the midst of those who are not good people or those you don't trust, you should do it rapidly. Do know that there are billions upon billions of human beings on the planet Earth. Why would you limit yourself to being among those whom you don't trust? When not only can you access individuals physically just by hopping in a car or a bus or going to a different coffee shop, but you can also access an infinite number of persons online through LinkedIn and what's that networking website? Meetup.com and things like this. And what's more, you can access the minds of geniuses by reading the books that they've written. And I have great books by really geniuses that are transformative that you can check out at amazon.com/shop/the saint and the sinner. I don't say that because it makes me a bunch of money. It doesn't at all. It's just great books that are transformative. And what I mean to say by this is that your ideas and your resources and your motivation can come from people, and it also can come from people you've never met when you read their books, okay? And the great value of a book, even though I value action over book any day, if you were to ask me, Marquette, is it smarter that I go travel and be around new people, position myself well, or read the most masterfully written book? I'd say go be around better people, because being around smart people is like reading books. But when I say a book is invaluable, this is what I truly mean. If you were to hire me to speak to you for an hour, it'd be like $13,000 to get an hour of me as a professional public speaker. You probably ain't got $13,000 laying around. So how is it you can spend not $13,000, but you can spend $13 and buy my book and hear me talk directly to you for 8 hours? Yeah, you read the book cover to cover, like 8.5 hours. That's a deal. And you can do that with any of the world's geniuses. They've mostly all written books. You should maximize on that. But do not become a lazy academic thinking that you can change the world from your couch, or thinking that you can change your circumstances from your bedroom. You cannot. You must go out in the world. You must fight, which is why I talk about fighting spirit and persistence. Yes. Some fail not for failing to do the right thing, but for failing to do the right thing long enough. Persistence is often the separator of those who won and those who did not win. In boxing, we call it going the distance. And that requires that you have faith that your desired outcome is possible and that you are worthy of having it. One of the greatest deterrents to your success is psychological. And understand this. I know people are going to fail when they describe millionaires or billionaires or the moneyed or property class as though they are some different species or variety of human. No, they're just persons with better habits than you. They're just persons who are more persistent or consistent than you. They're not a different kind of human. So one quotation I can share with you is that extraordinary men are those who know that all men are ordinary. That's not how it was originally stated. I actually reformulated it to be better, more succinct. But extraordinary men are those who know that all men are ordinary. And when I say that, what I really mean to express is those of us who achieve at the highest levels, the reason we do that is because we look at a Michael Jordan when we're on the basketball court and we say, he's not special. He just practiced more than everyone else, right? If we're both in the NBA, any one of us could probably perform at that level with the right dedication. I mean, Michael Jordan's not a gargantuan. If you're in the NBA, you're probably about the same size, maybe even bigger. When you look at Steph Curry, you don't think, oh, he's sinking those three-pointers because it's in his DNA. It's genetic. No, those are the shots that he practiced in the gym. When everybody else was doing other things, he was practicing the three ball. So you know that he's not extraordinary, except that his habits were extraordinary. The level of practice and dedication and self-belief, presence of mind, and emotional intelligence is extraordinary. But nothing about us on a genetic level is usually extraordinary, which, as it's been said, we get praised or rewarded in public for those things that we have practiced in private. And we practice them a hell of a lot. Now, I'll yield the floor for you all to share any comments, questions, thoughts as we wind down.
On Cash App, we have Ishmael said, peace to the saints. Thanks for the knowledge.
Absolutely. Oh, it's quite funny to me when I encounter some people, whether it's a watch or it's a suit or it's a car, and they look at it and I can tell they never plan on being able to achieve at a certain level or be able to get something for themselves. I remember one time I was sitting in the Rolls, and I was having a meal in the back of the Rolls on the tray tables. There's tray tables that fold out in the rear, and I was having a meal, and there was an older black man and an older Asian woman, and they were taking photographs of the car. I don't think they noticed that I was sitting in the back having a meal. And once they did, they say, "Oh, do you mind if we take photos?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And as I was eating, I was asking myself, why is it I've never thought to take photographs in front of someone else's car? And the reason I've never thought to do that, not because I haven't seen really cool cars, I have. And I said, oh, actually, there have been times that I have taken photos of cars that weren't mine. And it was of like, Formula, F1 cars, when I'm in Monaco and they have the Grand Prix cars, the cars that are going to be racing. And the reason I took the photos is because I never intend to buy one of these cars, not because I can't afford it, because I don't want one. And I would never drive at speeds that high, because when I die, I want to die for a greater reason other than I was trying to beat this guy in a car race. Like, that's not an interesting way to die for me, right? For race car drivers, apparently for them, it's fine. But so I say that to say the reason they were taking photos of the Rolls is because they love the car, but they can never see themselves having it. affording it, earning it. And I decided that I never want to be a person like that. I always want to look at something and say, well, that could be mine with enough intelligence, hard work, and focus. And no matter how many mistakes you may have made, it really doesn't matter, just as your past successes don't matter. Which is why every day you have to pick yourself up like it's a new day and get to work with great faith. Faith that there are great things out there for you, no matter who you are or where you came from. And don't think anyone's extraordinary. I even look at Britney Spears and it just boggles the mind because I'm like, she's so unattractive. Like she's so average. If you grew up in California, she is basic white girl from Orange County 101. She's not bad. She is middle of the road. And you look at the chick on Friends, Jennifer Aniston. Same thing, middle of the road. Everyone says she's attractive, but they don't realize they think she's wildly attractive because she's been marketed and remarketed and she's the main character on the TV show. And so she's the one that's the star of the show, the focus of the show. And so in your brain, you accept, well, she must be good looking, just like on Sex and the City, Sarah Jessica Parker, right? She looks like a skinny transformer, like a transformer on fentanyl. But people idolize her and she made it, which is to let you know any one of you can make it. I'm not saying recreate yourself. I'm saying if you put your price out to the world and let them know, hey, I'm valuable, everyone's going to respect it.
Okay, we have Hegemonia sent $50.
Baller alert.
Said halfway through Psycho Cybernetics, this lecture reminds me of the book. The way you bring similar information plus more to life is extremely motivating. I needed to hear doing the right thing until eventually it happens.
Absolutely. And if you can get a little bit of guidance and wisdom from someone who's walked that path before, and here's the beautiful thing about human life. You are rarely doing something that hasn't been done before. Even if the exact thing you're doing hasn't been done, someone's done something that's similar enough that they can coach you through the process. For example, when I invented the concept of effortless attendance, that is the ability to take attendance in a large lecture hall full of students without anyone lifting a finger. No one had ever done that. It was brand new in the space. But Bluetooth technology had pre-existed. All sorts of beacon technology had pre-existed. There were experts on those hardware devices. There were experts who could help me program my firmware. There were a lot of people who could walk me down that path. And more importantly, I talked to bosses in tech, you heard me, who could tell me like, hey, I started from nothing like you did, and now I'm worth 35 million, and you're on the right track. This is a good product. You got the goods. I'm going to invest money with you. I know that everything is right. You got the right team. You're the right leader. You got the right technology. You have the right ambition. You have the right market. And those are the things that increase your faith. And you're going to need faith if you want to do something that's extraordinary. I promise you, you're going to need faith.
Okay, we have Sardi's third element said, hi, Marquette. I am motivated about 25% of the time. I'm disciplined 100% of the time.
Talk to him.
Watching your product evolve is incredible. Peace to the Saints.
Peace to the Saints. Shout out to Charlie. He's a real one. Shout out to the people in PA. You dig? I have a great love for PA. Have you ever spent much time in Pennsylvania? Oh, that's right. Yeah, you got to check out rural Pennsylvania, though. The Amish. Yeah, that's a special experience. That's a Erie, cold as I don't know what.
We have Saint SA. You know his Las Vegas.
Yeah, shout out to the Saints and Saint City.
Tuition, peace to the Saints.
Peace to the Saints.
We have Jay said tuition.
Shout out to Jay.
And Fernando said persistence pays off. Thanks for your time. Peace to the Saints.
And it really does.
And we have Ishmael came back and said, I will send a baller alert when the intro is done. So I'm not sure if he's watching it from the beginning.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Yes.
I heard that.
Ishmael came back.
One thing I want to remind you all of is that, when I use the term faith, you might be thinking of religion or God or spirituality, and it's certainly spiritual, but it needn't be connected to religion. When I talk about faith, what I'm saying is that you have to believe in yourself, even if the evidence isn't there, that you're the guy. You have to believe in yourself as a woman, even if the evidence isn't necessarily there, that you're going to be the woman to achieve X, Y, and Z. That's what I mean when I say faith. Faith is required. And even if you look at it in terms of religious faith, the belief in something greater has allowed us to do extraordinary things. For example, there's an individual you may have heard of. He actually ran for president. a couple cycles ago. His name is Dr. Ben Carson. As I've mentioned many times before, because I have great respect for him, not only what he's accomplished, but where he came from. You see, there's a measure that we often forget about. We look at people, what they accomplish, but you also have to consider the distance that they traveled to get to where they are. And in his case, he traveled a great distance, came from poverty, came from a single parent household, came from lack of education. And what he achieved was extraordinary. He was able to successfully separate occipitally conjoined craniospagus twins, which is to say Siamese twins joined at the head, at the brain. He was able to do this without them insanguinating, which is to say bleeding to death. And this was actually uncommon. He pioneered a surgical method. Now imagine you do this as a black guy who came from the ghetto. Well, you got to have a lot of faith in yourself and in general, because you don't fit any of the descriptions of people who should be literate, people who should be scientists. And let's say on a fluke, you become literate, you become a scientist. What is the likelihood you become a surgeon, which is the most elite doctor? And what is the likelihood after becoming a surgeon, you become a neurosurgeon, which is the most sophisticated form of surgery? And then what is the chance that you actually pioneer a method and you can do something that the Asian guys can't do, the Chinese guy, the Indian guy, the white guy, none of the guys can do it. And you're a part of that group that historically has been identified as the ones with low IQ, but you've taught everyone else how to do something. Requires a lot of faith. And one thing I'll tell you about him that I know is true from him and from those who have worked with him in surgery is that he has his whole team pray before he goes into surgery. Now, does he need to do this? Does he have to do this? It gives him the extra edge to know I'm pulling for me. And I believe everything out there in the world, call it the universe, call it spirit, call it God, but I'm asking everything else to also pull for me. I'm asking everything. I'm asking myself to pull for me, and I'm asking everything else to pull for me. He's using that to drive greater faith and belief that this can be done, because he was doing things that people believed were impossible. Not impossible just for him, but impossible for anyone. Now, with that faith, hell, if you're doing things that have been done before, carry on like a fearless, joyful lunatic. Carry on. Because most of you guys are not trying to pioneer a method in separating twins joined at the brain so they don't bleed to death. And it's a tremendous risk, because if you do it wrong, you have two infants, two children that are going to die, and it'll be the blood on your hands. You're not doing that. So whatever you're doing, you should be very confident and have great faith. But always seek the edge, seek information, seek good mentorship, because here's why people give up. Because the brain goes soft and goes weak. The willpower wanes over time because you've been lifting weights, but you don't see the muscles. You've been laboring, but you don't see the fruit. And it takes an experienced man to say, you're on mile 8, keep on going, get to mile 13, you'll start to see some returns. So what I'm telling you is to keep going and keep having faith and don't doubt, because here's the worst thing. You see, say you have two persons who carry on in persistence, and they carry on with different forms of faith. One has shaky faith and the other one has proud, happy, joyous faith. The guy who has shaky faith, he keeps going because he has some level of faith, and he finally arrives. He's happy. He celebrates. Maybe his path was a 5-year path. Shaky faith, struggling with doubt the whole time, but he kept going. Now you experienced 5 years of unhappiness. You experienced 5 years of psychological turmoil that you didn't have to experience. The other guy went through the 5 years knowing that it was going to happen for him. Every time someone asked him, how's it going? Going wonderfully. How do you feel? Feel fantastic. And he made it through that 5 years, through poverty, through challenges, through losing girlfriends because he was focused on the business. And he was happy and stayed happy because he knew he was going to win the whole time. The whole time he knew he was going to win. That's the difference between that boxer that looks worried when he gets hit with something hard and that other boxer that gets punched in the mouth with something hard and he smiles with bloody teeth. That's the one you want to be, because you're going to get punched. You just got to know you're going to win at the end. Huh? And that's all that really matters. Nope, that's wrong. That's not all that it really matters. The end is not all. See, I tricked you right there. The whole thing matters. If it takes 5 years to win, you want to be unhappy during the 5 years? That is also a part of your life. Your life is not starting when you become a millionaire. Your life was also that part when you were poor. And here's another thing. You're also being judged during the poor part, during the challenging part. People are watching you. Yes. It's a beautiful thing when they could say, you know what? He was a charming, good looking, stylish boss the whole way through. Pleasant guy. Never saw him sweat the whole way through. He was smiling the whole way through. Man was smiling at the starting line. He was also smiling at the finish line. He knew something. Huh? Saints, it's been a pleasure to share this lesson with you. Let us end this with our tradition, the Creed of the Assassin. Repeat after me with full conviction, knowing this is true of you. The Creed of the Assassin. I'm going to be who I truly am because I am remarkable. I'm going to strive every moment to show the greatest part of who I am. Until next time, peace to the saints.